The first step in your real spiritual journey, which also happens to be your ego's last step, starts with an experiential surrender. Let me explain what I mean by experiential surrender. You may have heard of surrender many a times, but this experiential surrender is different from the usual faith-based surrender, as in the latter, the idea of achieving something still remains. You may have a spiritual practice even before you experience this true surrender. You may have mastered many techniques to bring your mind under control. You may have explored one or the many spiritual paths. But before the stage of experiential surrender arises, your mind will still consider itself to be the doer, as it is accustomed to in the ordinary day-to-day life. The idea of the ego that it makes things happen will seep into the beginning stages of the spiritual quest too. The ego, which used to feed on the results of the actions performed by the body, will now seek claim to the progress made spiritually. At this stage, the mind may be quieter, but the stage of ego dissolution has not even started. The ego will start identifying itself as a spiritual ego rather than being an ordinary ego, considering itself even higher than others. At this stage, the ego may resort to a faith-based surrender, but deep inside still considers itself to be the doer of it all. Unfortunately for many seekers, this is a stage they get stuck in for very long periods of time. Inevitably, at some point in the spiritual journey though, the mind starts questioning the origin of thoughts itself. As the state of witnessing becomes more solidified, the seeker will have the question, where did this urge to go on path originate from? Was it not the consciousness leading the seeker to itself in the first place? This questioning is the birth of experiential surrender. When the seeker starts having a vague feeling that consciousness can't be reached through the mind, that to master the mind through the mind is impossible. The zeal to even attempt it came from the very consciousness the seeker is trying to reach. If consciousness is leading you and everything that emanated from it to itself, the best course, of course, is to let go. At this stage, your ego will be humbled by the silent consciousness which has been witnessing it from its very inception. You wouldn't have any doubts. You would surrender not out of faith, rather from having experienced that the doership idea of the ego is false. If you have reached this stage, know that a big adventure lies ahead. Let go and enjoy the journey. Let the mystery of consciousness work on the ego. It has made existence possible. It is where all things originate from and settle back in. Surrender and start the true journey to yourself.